but I did get some questions in. I did one of the shorts that I did recently was cutting out a short from a video I had done some years ago on how you need an editor. If you're a writer, you need an editor. And we're especially in an era now where it's so easy to self-publish. It's so easy to get your stuff out there to audiences pretty much immediately. Like almost as soon as you write it, you can put it in people's hands. And that's great. There's a lot of freedom to that and a lot of positive aspects about sort of eliminating the gatekeepers of the publishing world. But there's also a lot of negative sides to that. And the negative side to that is that those gatekeepers did sift quality. They did make sure it was quality being put in readers' hands. Even sometimes they made a lot of other unfair gatekeeping and whatnot, but they did really make sure quality was going, meaning that the work was edited. And when I say editing, I don't just mean making sure you've got your verbs and your punctuation and all of that. I mean, that's copy editing. I'm talking about developmental editing, which is you've written a story. Great. You need a developmental editor and a professional developmental editor before you actually mass market it or put it in front of readers in any way that you want to be taken seriously. The better you get at writing and the more experience you get, certainly the better your work will become even in first drafts, but you will always need that editor. And the editor, I've said, is different than beta readers. Beta readers are your friends who you can trust to read your material. And here's something about beta readers too. If you're going to ask somebody to read your work, don't set them up for a praise trap. Like, oh, I wrote this. Here, read this. Tell me how amazing I am. Tell me what you think. That's what most people do when they get to beta readers. And that's insulting to friends. It's not fair. If you want a beta reader to read your work, you better have questions written down that you need to ask them after they've read your work. And if you want to start with the general, okay, what was your general impression? What'd you think overall? Sure, start with that. But so many times people won't read my work, and they'll read something. What'd you think? What'd you think? And they're just like, they're just ready for me to say good things and nice things about them because that's what they want. When no, if you have a beta reader read your work, what you want them to do is tell you everything that's wrong with it. Not because it's crap work and you should just dispose of it and never be a writer, but so you'll know the things to make it even better. So questions for beta readers are things like, did you find it believable when this character did that? Was it clear what their motivations were? Did you, what do you think is going to happen with these two characters here? As a reader, at this point in the story, what is your looking ahead, what do you think or what do you want to happen? You have to know those things, what's going on in your readers' heads, because you cannot be your own reader. You always try to be. You always try to write and put that sort of reader glasses on, but you can never fully do it. You need to have the actual actual feedback from readers. So if you're going to have beta readers, first of all, you better have some set questions that you want answered by that beta reader, or don't get somebody else to read it. If you're just looking for a pat on the head and for somebody to make you feel all goodsy about yourself that day, then you really probably shouldn't be writing, because writing, boy, you don't get edited unless you're ready to put your big boy pants on and deal with your manuscript coming back to you dripping in red ink. And that does, and see, you have to get to the point where you realize that doesn't mean you're a bad writer or that that's a bad story. In fact, if someone really took the time to seriously mark it up, it means it's a really good story, and this is what you need to do to make it better. That's the nature of writing. No one just writes something and it's good, it's ready to be published. That's just not how writing works for anybody, for no matter what their skill level is. So when you get to that point where you totally need or you're going to go put it in readers' hands in any kind of mass marketed way, or put it out there on the internet or whatever, you need a professional editor. And I say professional editor, somebody who knows what they're doing, somebody who's been trained, either went to school for it or has been doing this professionally for a while. And I said that, and then a lot of people were asking me, well, how do you find a professional editor? Here's the thing, and I don't know where each person was coming from that asked me that question, so it could be different. I don't want to try to assume anything about these people who are asking, but just the general person who asks a question like that, they haven't accepted the fact that they're going to have to pay. And I mean pay, because editing is hard work. You give somebody your manuscript, your 70, 100-page manuscript or whatever, and you want them to invest in that and really dig into what the characters are doing and really dig, and then to mark and give you all these notes and give you all this feedback. You better be willing to pay. If it's a novel length, you're going to have to pay easily over $100, probably more. I'm giving you conservative estimates. If it's only about 10 pages or so, maybe 10 to 20 pages, maybe 50 or 60. If you got a really, like, sometimes I'll give deals like that just to help people out, to help some, because I do professional editing as well. And I'll, and, you know, I'm a writing professor. I have an MFA in creative writing. I've taught writing and I've written myself and published. And, so I'll try to cut deals with people sometimes when I have the time, you know, over summers or something like that, to try and help people who maybe wouldn't get professional editing otherwise, try and tap into it a little bit and see what it's like and learn some things to try and help themselves get better. But I think most people who say, well, I can't find a professional editor, aren't willing to pay, because it's kind of easy to find if you start asking around. If you start asking other writers, professional writers, hey, do you have any editors you'd recommend? And be specific what type of editing. You want developmental editing. Copy editors, they're easily found. You can go on Fiverr, look for a copy editor. You know, somebody who's like making sure your punctuation is right, your grammar and all of that kind of stuff, and there are no typos. You know, you might even have friends that are really good at that. That's something that some people can do well, some people can't, but you don't necessarily need super mega training for something like proofreading. There's a level of copy editing between proofreading and developmental editing, which is a little bit more about the prose. It's like, okay, the story's good. You got the motivations, you got the things in the right order, you understand all that kind of stuff. Copy editing is the prose. But if you're writing in nothing but these long freaking ambling sentences that just take forever, and you've got these, you know, half-page long sentence after half-page long sentence, that's an exaggeration. But anyway, that's too much. The reader's not going to be able to handle that. You need to have a variety of sentence length, for example. You need to have strong verbs, you know. So that's sort of a level of copy editing that's more about the prose style. It's not necessarily just proofreading. So there's sort of three levels if you want to think about it like that. But developmental editors, you need them. That's the first editor you go to, somebody to make sure that your story is right. And that doesn't mean you've got the great idea. That's the thing. Ira Plato has this great quote where he talks about, you know, a lot of young writers don't understand that your taste is what makes you special. You need to realize that when you start out with writing or with any kind of art, that you're horrible at it. And that's okay. That's normal. You're going to be a crap writer until you've written for a long time and really revised. And that's just, but what's so special, what you have to hold to is your own taste, the own initial ideas, the initial vision that you have. No one else has that in the world. Only you have that. And you're not going to be able to give it to other people well until you put in the blood, sweat, and tears to learn how to write and craft something well. And it's something you'll never stop learning. But you have to go through a long time when you start out as a writer of not being a great writer. And that's okay. Accept that and realize that your vision is stronger than your pride in that moment, and you're going to persevere because your vision is so cool that you want to persevere until you get there and get that vision out to the world as a good writer, you know. So yeah, where to find them? I mean, I professional edit, but I don't professional edit all the time. It's only when I have time for it. Most developmental editors do that. It's something they do on the side, unless they're working for like a publishing house or something. You're not going to find somebody who just does this full time because, frankly, very few people are willing to pay professional editors how much they're worth. So it's not something that you can, you know, but prepare to pay. You can ask around, ask editors. Look at books or comics that you enjoy and see what editors are listed on them. You know, there's that as well. You can always hit up universities. You know, I've found, you know, hit up a local university, go look on their website and look for the creative writing professor or something like that, and shoot them an email. Even though you don't know them from Adam, just say, I'm a local writer looking for a developmental editor. Do you have recommendations? Sometimes some of their grad students, you know, will work for cheaper than like a big, well-established, and that's good. That's a good developmental editing to have, you know. So any kind of writing tutor or editor, universities are a good place to throw that out. But so anyway, Sound Graver said, I'm not shy charging a lot for violin lessons because everything I instruct will get the player to a professional level. That is, if they apply my teaching to their daily practice. Yeah, if you want somebody who's a professional instructor in something, you're paying for their expertise and the years that they took getting there, and you are. That's the thing. Most people who have come to me wanting an editor usually want a pat on the back. Usually want to go get him, Tiger. That's amazing. Now, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to take that draft and put it up on my refrigerator. That's what I'm going to do, guy. That's kind of what they more want. Because when I try and give a lot of people real feedback saying, I think you need to start the story here instead of there. No, I like it there. Well, of course, it's your decision at the end of the day. But, you know, if a professional's telling you these are the reasons why this, that, you know, it's, anyway.